Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Are Texans Wednesday number 10. Now, this is the first We Are Texans Wednesday post draft, and I will have the ticker come up now, and we will be talking all about the entire selections and everything, what we can expect from everybody. But I want to preface this with something. Well, actually, hold on. Let me, do the normal YouTube stuff. Like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000. We are at 335 at the time of this recording, and we're trying to reach more Texans fans. If you know any Titans, Jags, or Colts fans, we got a show for them too. And then we come together for this AFC South show, and we talk about each other's team, and it's a good time. So stick around, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for any, just so you don't miss anything, I guess. But 10 likes on this episode would be amazing. If we could do more than that, that'd be amazing too. I'm working on new merch, so eventually I'll get the merch link to be a thing again. Run the damn ball shirts will be coming. That's what she said. So before I get into this draft stuff, I want to say this. Grades on drafts immediately are as pointless as trying to sit down and count the amount of sand in, like, grains of sand in a cubic foot of beach. You could do it, but why? You know what I'm saying? We got this player here, we got this player there. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the production on the field with these guys and how long they're with the team. So the best way to grade a draft class is, in fact, retrospectively. You have to look back at them and you have to give them time. So immediate draft grades are just an attention-grabbing bullshit. Okay? Unless your only metric for giving the grade is for assumed value per selection placement. Okay, so like everybody is a little divided, we'll call it, on the Juice Scruggs thing. I kind of stand on the side of maybe we could have waited a little bit. There was some movement from the center position that maybe necessitated it, but the collective package maybe was not to our liking. And then other moves, I have to give credit to Caserio for what I can only describe as one of the most masterful manipulations of the media I have ever been able to bear witness to. This man essentially, and I don't have like proof that he's out here just like, sliding 20s to people being like, you're going to put this in the paper. But I think this man has people putting things out there. People are calling and asking questions, as teams do, trying to trade picks, and he's saying stuff and telling people to say stuff, and it's throwing people off a little bit. And that happens long before the draft starts as well. So, I mean, like, these people are, all the teams are basically always in constant contact with somebody in the organization, because you're talking practice squad people pretty much all the time. They're a little bit more interconnected than you think, but they're not like that interconnected. There is... So the hype around CJ Stroud at whatever position in the draft, and whether or not to take Will Anderson at 2, had to be manufactured in every single way. And it had to be done by somebody who had something to gain. So, in my opinion, the best way to manufacture false value and demand on anything is to say that you're going to do something that's going to make that more valuable. It's the only way that makes sense. So you put out there that you want Tyree Wilson. You put out there Will Anderson. Now people are talking to the Cardinals. What does it take to move up to 3? We might like Stroud. You guys have a quarterback. Well, they're moving up from 11. We have 12. Their deal probably would have been a little bit more because of the new demand that CJ Stroud would have brought to the position. And this singular thing makes this move impeccable because they go and they take CJ Stroud at 2. And then the value at 3 immediately plummets. And the Cardinals are like, all right. The Texans are calling. We're going to get a trade. Thank you. I don't care what it is. Let's go. I'm not saying that the value per... I wasn't happy that the second round pick was not ours as well. Like, I wanted to keep our second round pick. That was our best shot to get JMS, who would have been who was the top center in this year's draft. But as I mentioned in the Texans content syndicate, the homies, whatever y'all. I mean, Stromberg was my dude. He was somebody that you could get later, who was pretty well rounded out of Arkansas. I think he was 21 and some change, so you would have had him for a minute. He's young, strong as hell, and a lot of people had him going, some people had him going undrafted. Some people had him going in the 4th round. He went in the late 2nd, to my knowledge. I should have checked that. But Stromberg definitely went earlier than expected. Let's just say that. So I think that created the artificial need at the center position, and we had to move up and get the guy just in case somebody else wanted him. And I get that. We kind of literally reap what we sowed at the first half of the draft, or first round of the draft, I should say. So, I mean, in that sense, that makes sense, but you look at the Tank Dell selection, and you look at Xavier Hutchinson, who would be, in theory, among the probably 7 in history, 7th round picks to make the active roster on game day. So, I mean, but Tank Dell, who, we're hoping can have the career with the size he has, we can hope he has the career of a Devontae Smith, but he was taken in the 1st round for a reason. And Tank Dell had a little bit less of the upside. There is nothing wrong with the actual selection of Tank Dell. I think he brings the speed element to the offense that we needed in the absence of one Brandon Cooks. So in that sense, it makes sense. But I felt the entire time we missed a true number 1. Cedric Tillman was my wide receiver 4, and he has wide receiver 1 potential in a given system. Nico Collins is a 6'4", 222-pound wide receiver for our team as well. And he's obviously not been able to play every single game ever. He missed, 7 games his rookie season. He missed, at least 5 games this year. This is going to be year 3. He's going to be 25 years old, 25 years old. We can only hope that he makes steps forward at this point. Usually players do more at this point with nobody. I mean, while DeAndre Hopkins' worst season was a 900-yard season after his rookie year, he did that with literally nobody at quarterback. It was Brian Hoyer and Ryan Mallett, who literally, why? Like, and we won the division. Sometimes I think people forget how weirdly good at being a head coach Bill O'Brien was. But I mean, like, how did we do that well with those guys? I mean, wow. Yeah, I mean, shit. Just how? Anyway, so this draft, I just want us to get an earlier set of wide receivers. That's my general problem with the Tank Dell Xavier Hutchinson thing. Hutchinson has upside, but he's going to have to shock the world. We could have got somebody with a chip on their shoulder instead, and they could have come in and immediately been a threat to somebody rather than, potentially be a threat. I wanted another tight end. I didn't really have a tight end in mind because there were several that were pretty solid, and I wouldn't have minded having any of them. And I kind of wanted a defensive interior player. Javon Dexter from Florida would have been a great addition. He could have immediately competed with Collins and Rankins for starting reps, and I think that's something that we desperately need. Roy Lopez, while he has shown flashes, has not been great, and you could say that's because of talent around him, and that's an argument that you can have. But generally speaking, the man is already 26 in his second year. No, he's going to be 27 in his third year. So, I mean, we're not going to have this guy forever. We're hoping that maybe one season, eventually, he's going to just blossom. Usually you see this before this. Might I remind you, DJ Reader, who was a really solid fifth round selection for us out of Clemson, who's now playing ball in Cincinnati, was one hell of a defensive tackle and immediately started. Dameon Pierce was a fourth round pick, immediately started. Well, I mean, he would have if, Lovey had a little bit more say so in the offense, I guess, week one. But, I mean, we usually have some late round picks that flourish for us. I like To'o. Good selection, a lot of placement of it. I would have liked Trenton Simpson. Would have been a really good addition to us. I mean, I'm not upset with the To'o pick, to be honest, but he's not what you're looking for in any sort of run-stopping capacity. So, and Christian Harris needs to develop some in that regard and in run-stopping because he's abysmal at run-stop. But with that, I mean, overall, if you held a gun to my head and you said, what would you give the draft for the Texans? Probably like a C+. But, I mean, honestly, how can you give anybody an A or a B? Definitely an A. How can you give anybody an A on a draft? Like, how do you know that these guys are him? Like, occasionally, like when it's Andrew Luck or, Trevor Lawrence, you assume that's what we might be getting with CJ Stroud, but I am of the opinion that it might be a little bit of, there was clearly two quarterbacks who were better than everybody, but how big is the gap between 1 and 2? How big is the gap between 2 and 3? That's the question that I have. I don't know. I don't know if Bryce Young is necessarily Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, I guess, are not just the prettiest turds in the punch bowl. So we'll see how everything works out. Generally speaking, and I know everybody hates this kind of take, but history has a way of repeating itself if you don't analyze it. And you can talk to me all day about how this is just bullshit, but Alabama quarterbacks since Joe Namath have not amounted to much of anything in the NFL. Tua had a great year. He can't remember most of it. I hear you. I get it. Mac Jones about to be traded. A.J. McCarron, two-time national championship winner in college. He's in the XFL. I know I'm Jalen Hurts. If you wanted to talk about him, we'll see how this season goes without Steichen there. I mean, I don't know exactly how much Steichen had in control there, but he had to have some sort of improvement on the development of Jalen Hurts, period, because he wasn't playing like that before. So I'm interested to see how he plays now. But then you look at Ohio State quarterbacks, and the ones that have translated to the NFL the best have changed positions. I'm going to, just off memory, I'm going to go Ohio State quarterbacks here. So, CJ Stroud, to be determined. Justin Fields, I'll give him generously, to be determined. Okay. And this is not in any particular order. Cardale Jones. I think he was like a 5th or a 6th round pick after starting at Ohio State. He's selling cars, I guess, now. Troy Smith. I think he was a Heisman candidate or won the Heisman in like 2008 or 9. Drafted in the 5th or 6th round. Drafted to Baltimore. Sat on the bench. I think he might have played in one game. Kirk Herbstreit. I don't even know if he made it to the NFL. Then you got Terrell Pryor, who had one good game as the Raiders quarterback and then moved to wide receiver to save his career, and honestly had a really decent second half of his career because of the position switch. He was a supreme athlete. Braxton Miller, when he went to Ohio State, he was a quarterback. I believe he transitioned while he was there to a wide receiver, and we drafted him. So, I mean, there's literally a bunch of other ones that I can't even remember their names. But historically speaking, from that perspective, I'm very leery of Ohio State quarterbacks and Alabama quarterbacks. However, historically speaking, USC quarterbacks do be churning out some dudes, but they also be churning out some duds. It's like a 50-50 shot. That's why Sam Darnold busted. John David Booty, but you get Carson Palmer, and why am I blanking on this guy's name? Oh my god. Leonard had a subpar career. Okay, maybe not USC. I mean, honestly, I guess the real thing for where quarterbacks come from is all of the non-powerhouse schools. Now, I'm not saying Power 5, but like Pat Mahomes was from Texas Tech. He didn't get a great grade when he was drafted by the Chiefs for whatever reason. He was able to be in an offense that helped him thrive. Got him drafted. He got to sit a little bit behind Alex Smith, and he developed. You look at Peyton Manning out of Tennessee, who hadn't really put a lot of quarterbacks in the league, at least not good ones. He comes in, takes his lumps as a rookie, takes a couple years, and then all of a sudden he's the sheriff, throwing 48 touchdowns, 49 touchdowns, 50 touchdowns. What? No, I'm just kidding. And then you got, Michigan occasionally. You got obviously the GOAT. There have been a couple good Michigan guys that have had decent careers, but Denard Robinson, his best thing was to move to another position. Florida had a couple that have done things in the NFL. I wouldn't necessarily say that Tebow was a success or Leak, but Rex Grossman was a mild success. I mean, Kyle Trask, I guess, is TBD. But I guess Baker's taking that spot. It's just random schools at random times that make the most quarterbacks, and I think it's because the players who aren't a quarterback who want to go to a team and be a part of greatness and be a part of championships, they go to the big schools, the powerhouse schools of the time, and they go there and they're around other great dudes and they win rings. Okay? The problem with that is it makes quarterback grading very difficult. So when you look at Ohio State and Alabama and occasionally Clemson, and I guess, who am I thinking about? LSU. When you look at the SEC and then a couple of other teams, it's hard to grade them because the talent there is so great. I mean, the year Joe Burrow was there, I mean, good God, look at the wide receivers he had. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. What are we talking about here? It's hard to grade him, but there's ways of doing it and figuring it out, I guess. CJ Stroud is arguably the more complete quarterback out of any of the Ohio State quarterbacks that I've talked about this evening, and that's what makes him intriguing. I'm willing to eat that Ohio State stigma if this man can prove it to be false. And I know that's kind of an unfair thing to place on his shoulders, but history tends to repeat itself. And that's why I didn't, if we weren't going to go and draft Bryce Young, which I think is on some level better than Stroud, I was cool with trading up, or trading back actually, and picking up more picks and getting stronger in the draft in other ways. But maybe picking up someone else like Hooker, which I was really high on. I hope he gets healed in time to play at some point this season. So I don't know. It'd be kind of crazy to have him be like the GOAT of the Lions. It just would be ridiculous. But with that, I think we're going to wrap this one up. I want to thank everybody for watching. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. We've got Duval Thursday and Tighten Up Tuesday coming out the day after this airs. And then we'll have For the Shoe Friday as well. So, again, tell your friends. And like and subscribe. Try to hit that 10 like goal. Hit the notification bell. Be good people.